There's nothing I love more in a video game than a good challenge. Most of these good challenges that I speak of come from the boss battles. I've been replaying through the Crash Bandicoot franchise a lot recently, and I have to say, the bosses here aren't exactly what I would call a challenge. But I still enjoy them for some reason. Maybe it's nostalgia, or maybe it's the creative and fun ways you beat each and every one of them, or maybe it's something else. Well, whatever it is, it's good enough for me to make a countdown about it. So here are my top 10 favorite Crash Bandicoot boss battles. Whenever a boss returns from a previous Crash Bandicoot game, their battle ends up being a lot better than before. Ripperoo is no exception. In the original Crash Bandicoot, his battle left a lot to be desired. He simply hopped around and you had to time the TNT crates to explode when he landed near them. It was pretty boring. So when he returned for the sequel, I wasn't excited to fight him. That is until the fight began. This time, Ripperoo has decided not to let you toy with him again. He comes bouncing on a cane after you, somehow turning the floor explosive. Yeah, I never really got that. Anyways, as he hops around, you must wait until he accidentally explodes himself before you can hit him. You might think that's it, but he surprises you by turning the floor into a nitro crate-like substance that explodes right when you touch it, so watch out. If there's two things I despise about the Crash Bandicoot games, it's the vehicle levels and the Wrath of Cortex bosses. Now, what happens if you take those two things and combine them? One of the coolest bosses I've ever seen. Seriously, how amazing is this boss? It takes two things that I hate and makes me love them. Air Crunch is truly a force to be reckoned with. You must chase him down in your airplane, firing bullets at his hands and head, as well as dodging his wide variety of attacks, all while one of the best boss themes I've ever heard is playing. So if I like him so much, why is he only at number 9? Well, your bullets don't exactly do the most damage, and he doesn't throw any crazy curveballs or anything new, so the battle kinda drags out for a while, making it a little bit boring. Uka Uka has been a villain of the Crash Bandicoot franchise since the third game, but we've never actually had him as a boss battle. I mean, sure, we had to avoid his attacks in Crash Bandicoot 3's final boss, but we've never actually gotten to, fight him face to face. That is until Crash Twinsanity. Even though he's not the hardest boss in the Crash Bandicoot franchise, in fact he's not even close to the hardest boss, he still makes his presence intimidating as he stomps towards you with a battle theme even better than Air Crunch. He creates a body out of ice and of course uses ice to attack you. Uka Uka is of course too powerful for you to just hit him. So your job is to fling Cortex to the switches, which opens a panel on the floor. This reveals a button that when pressed makes fire shoot out of the floor, melting Uka Uka's ice body. Repeat this a couple times and you win. Dingodile, 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 why do I love you so much? In case you couldn't already tell, Dingodile is my favorite villain in the Crash Bandicoot franchise, and his battles are definitely good enough to make it onto this list. In Crash Bandicoot 3, you meet him in the Arctic, which is kind of odd since he attacks with a flamethrower. He starts off the battle by surrounding himself in a crystal wall so you can't hit him. He then shoots fireballs into the air, which you must avoid or else you'll be melted into a spicy meatball. After a while, he'll realize that the fireballs aren't working, so he cranks up the heat on his flamethrower and turns it to full blast as he shoots through the crystal wall. Your job is to trick him into blasting enough crystals to create a path for you to walk through and attack him. Not only is this battle fun, but you get a nice reward for defeating him too. The double jump. And you can probably already tell, but the double jump makes this battle a lot easier if you want to replay it in the future. One thing you may notice about the Crash Bandicoot franchise is that it's all happy, colorful, bouncy, and fun. So you're having a grand old time playing your fun, colorful, bright, happy, super duper, go lucky, fun, happy, go time game. Until you get to Brio. This battle is the last thing you'd expect to see in a Crash Bandicoot game. So it starts off just like any other normal boss. Brio smashes some bottles on the ground, releasing some green bouncy gooey balls or whatever those are. And you must bounce on them to make his health meter go down. Soon Brio will get tired of your fooling around and drink a special blend of chemicals he's mixed to transform him into this. Holy cow, I was not expecting that. He roars at you and stomps at you with rage. You have no time to think. All you have time to do is attack and hope you don't die. As a 5-year-old, this battle is nightmarish. Now, could we please move on before I pee myself? One of the deciding factors of whether or not you'll like a game is your first impressions of the game. So the game needs to start off strong, and boy did Crash Twinsanity do just that. The first boss in the game this time around is Dr. Neo Cortex himself, which is odd because he's usually the final boss. He starts off the fight by firing energy beams at you that you can easily avoid, but then he begins to toss bombs which destroy pieces of the platform that you're standing on. He then finishes it all off by shooting an energy beam that you can reflect back at him. Repeat 3 times and he goes down. But the fight is not over yet. Soon, a giant mecha bandicoot being controlled by Engine comes down to attack you with chainsaws, missiles, and even more energy beams. It's an exciting battle that keeps you on the edge of your seat, and it's a great way to start off this amazing game.
Now you're on my time, you little skunk! Give me the crystals!
Oh yeah, number 4 is Tropy. One of the reasons why this guy is so great is his reveal. For half of the game, we don't even know who he is. He just shows up for a second at the beginning without saying a word, and then we don't see him again. So we're so curious to face him and see what this guy's all about. And when we do, it is definitely not a disappointment. He starts off the battle by firing projectiles and lasers at you that will disintegrate you if you touch them. But Tropy isn't very smart because soon he gets tired of doing this and creates platforms that you can easily jump across to hit him. Repeat this 3 times and he is done. He may be one of the easiest battles in the Crash Bandicoot franchise, but it's still fun and his reveal is still one of the best I've ever seen in the Crash Bandicoot franchise. Not to mention, you get the best reward ever for beating him. The tornado spin. You Crash Bandicoot fans know what I'm talking about. Remember back at number 10 when I said whenever a boss returns from a previous installment in the Crash Bandicoot series, it tends to be better? Yeah, this also applies with Tiny the Tiger. You first meet this guy in Crash Bandicoot 2, and he is a complete and total joke. He attempts to stomp at you, and all you have to do is trick him into jumping into a hole. It's just way too easy, and he's super slow. It's almost laughable. However, in Crash Bandicoot 3, Tiny has stepped up his game. He begins the fight by sending an army of lions at you, which admittedly are a bit tough to dodge on your first try. After all the lions are gone, Tiny will attempt to stomp on you again, but this time he's much faster than he was before. Soon, he will try to stab you with his huge trident, which will get stuck in the ground, leaving him open for you to attack him. He is very nostalgic since he is the first boss I've ever faced in a video game, and he's a huge improvement from the previous Crash Bandicoot game, which lands him at number 3. Guess who's back? That's right, it's Dingodile. Once again, the back and better than ever rule that I mentioned at number 10 and number 3 applies here, because Dingodile's battle is definitely better than it was before. Now, like I mentioned before, I love the Dingodile battle from Crash Bandicoot 3. So what exactly makes this one different and better? Dingodile is a lot trickier this time, changing up the pattern of his fireballs and flamethrowers. But once again, you must trick him into shooting a fireball that activates a switch so you can turn on the water, leaving him open for an attack since his flamethrower will be disabled. Next is the atmosphere. You're not in the Arctic anymore. This time you're where Dingodile belongs, a dark, fiery room. It's really threatening and sends chills down your spine. Which is kind of weird because the Arctic should do that since, you know, it's called jokes. Anyways, the best part though is the music. While it's not exciting or fast-paced like the one in Crash Bandicoot 3, it just fits this battle perfectly and fits who Dingodile is. It is really awesome. Let's take a listen. In Tropy was a fun battle. Dingodile had a perfect atmosphere, and Dr. Cortex went all out with his battle and made it big. For a Crash Bandicoot boss to be number 1, it needs to combine all 3 of these elements. Number 1 are the evil twins from Crash Twinsanity. Their goal is to get revenge on Dr. Cortex by destroying Wumpa Island for sending them to an alternate dimension. In this final battle, the atmosphere is set and the music is really epic. It truly gives you the feeling that you're not just beating a villain, you're fighting for the fate of your loved ones and your home. You get to fight as Cortex, Cortex's niece Nina, and finally, the Mecha Bandicoot from the beginning of the game! It's so manly and awesome! Yeah! Oh, ever since the beginning of the game I've wanted to use that and I finally got to! Once again, this is a pretty easy boss, but it's so fun and everything is done so amazingly that it'd be foolish for me to not put it at number 1. I'm Leopold the Brave, and this was my top 10 favorite Crash Bandicoot boss battles. See you next time!